These 13 black superstars shocked the world with their talent, but kept one truth hidden until their final breath. From chart-topping singers to Oscar-nominated actors, they battled fame, fear, and a society that wouldn't let them be themselves. In an era when being openly gay could destroy careers overnight, especially for black entertainers already fighting against racial barriers, these legends made an impossible choice: hide their authentic selves or lose everything they'd worked for. Some lived with secret partners for decades, others poured their hidden pain into groundbreaking art, and many took their truth to the grave rather than face a world that wasn't ready to accept them. Tonight, we honor their courage and reveal the heartbreaking stories of survival, love, and sacrifice that Hollywood never wanted you to know. Subscribe now to discover the hidden stories that shaped entertainment history. Sammy Davis Jr., the Rat Pack's hidden truth. Sammy Davis Jr. was one of the 20th century's most famous entertainers, singing, dancing, acting, and making people laugh as part of the Rat Pack with Frank Sinatra and Dean Martin. He broke barriers for black performers while maintaining a flashy public image with big smiles and smooth moves. Sammy married 3 times to women, most notably Swedish actress May Britt in the 1960s, causing scandal due to interracial marriage taboos. His relationship with actress Kim Novak was reportedly shut down by studio bosses and the mob because America wasn't ready. However, some biographers and Hollywood insiders claim Sammy also had romantic relationships with men. He never confirmed this publicly, and there's no solid proof, but rumors persisted for decades. People believe he may have struggled with his sexuality during a time when being gay could destroy careers, especially for black men in the spotlight. After surviving a terrible 1950s car accident, Sammy converted to Judaism, with some believing his faith added to potential internal conflicts about identity and sexuality. Little Richard, the King's complicated journey. Little Richard was one of music history's most exciting stars. With wild outfits, loud voice, and crazy stage moves, he helped shape rock and roll through songs like Tutti Frutti and Long Tall Sally. But behind the fame lay a personal struggle that followed him throughout life: his sexuality. From a young age, Richard was different. His father kicked him out for being gay when he was just a teenager, showing how hard things were for someone who didn't fit society's masculine rules. He hit stages with sparkly clothes, makeup, and a voice that lit up the world. Richard's relationship with his sexuality was complex. Sometimes he said he'd always been gay, other times he rejected it due to religious beliefs. In 1982, he claimed God showed him homosexuality was wrong. By 1995, he said he'd been gay forever. In 2012, he called himself omnisexual, saying, "Sex to me is like a smorgasbord. Whatever I feel like, I go for." His constant back and forth stemmed from deep Christian faith, creating painful battles between identity and religion. Donnie Hathaway, the soul singer's secret burden. Donnie Hathaway was one of the most talented soul singers of all time, with a rich, emotional voice full of pain and beauty. His songs like A Song for You, This Christmas, and duets with Roberta Flack made him a star. But behind the success, he struggled with mental health and a side he may have felt compelled to hide. Some reports suggest Donnie might have been gay or bisexual, though he never spoke about it publicly. He was married to Eulalia Hathaway with 2 daughters, including singer Lala Hathaway, appearing like a family man from the outside. According to Magnet magazine, Donnie may have lived a closeted gay life. In the 1970s, being openly gay as a black male artist was incredibly difficult due to societal judgment and music industry homophobia. Donnie was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia, causing hallucinations, mood swings, and deep paranoia. If he was also hiding his sexuality on top of mental illness, it must have been an overwhelming burden. People who knew him said he was deeply troubled by secrets. Luther Vandross, the Velvet Voices' private pain. Luther Vandross had one of the smoothest, most romantic voices in music history. Songs like Never Too Much, Here and Now, and Dance with My Father made millions of people fall in love with his sound. But behind the fame was a part of his life he kept very private: his sexuality. Luther never came out as gay while alive, even though many people wondered for years. His closest friend, singer Patti LaBelle, confirmed in a 2017 interview that Luther was indeed gay, but didn't feel comfortable telling the world. Patti explained Luther was worried about fan reactions, especially female fans who loved him so much. He also didn't want to upset his mother, who meant everything to him. Luther wanted to keep her proud and didn't want her dealing with potential hate or judgment. Throughout his career, there were rumors about his sexuality, but Luther always kept quiet, wanting people to focus on his music rather than his personal life. After Luther died in 2005 from a stroke, more friends confirmed he had been gay. Jermaine Stewart, the openly hidden truth. Jermaine Stewart had bright energy, unique style, and a voice that stood out in the 1980s music scene with hits like We Don't Have to Take Our Clothes Off. Behind the lights and fame was a deeper story about being a proud gay black man in an industry that wasn't always accepting. Jermaine was gay, and though he didn't publicly announce it from rooftops, he didn't exactly hide it either. During the 1980s, when being openly gay was still very risky, especially for black artists, Jermaine chose to live his truth in his own quiet way. People in the music world and those close to him knew about his sexuality, but it didn't receive much media attention. He didn't fit the usual mold of a macho pop star, making him stand out but also making some industry people unsure about supporting him fully. His fashion was bold, colorful, and feminine, and he never tried changing who he was to make others comfortable. That confidence was rare and brave. Unfortunately, Jermaine died in 1997 at just 39 from AIDS-related liver cancer. Ethel Waters, the early pioneer's hidden love. Ethel Waters was one of the biggest stars in early black entertainment, a powerful singer and amazing actress who broke barriers for black performers in the early 1900s. But there was a part of her life that most people didn't know much about: her sexuality. Ethel never publicly said she was gay or bisexual, but many close associates and history experts believe she had same-sex relationships, especially early in her career. In the 1920s, she had a very close relationship with dancer Ethel Williams, and they lived together for some time. People around them called them the two Ethels, like they were a couple. This was way before it was considered acceptable to be openly gay, especially as a public figure. Ethel also married men 3 times, suggesting she may have been bisexual, but none lasted. She kept her personal life very private, probably because it was too risky to be open about sexuality then. Being a black woman in entertainment already came with struggles. Adding controversial sexuality would have made things even harder. Alvin Ailey, dance genius who died in silence. Alvin Ailey was one of the most famous dancers and choreographers in American history. He founded the Alvin Ailey American Dance Theater, which became a global symbol of black excellence in dance. His shows were emotional, powerful, and full of life. But while his art spoke loudly, Alvin stayed very quiet about one big part of his life: he was gay. Alvin lived when being openly gay was dangerous, especially for black men. If you were gay, you could lose your job, be treated badly, or even attacked. Because of this, Ailey kept his sexuality private and never came out publicly. People who knew him personally, as well as later biographies, confirmed Alvin was gay. Even though he didn't talk about it, his work often showed signs of his inner feelings. He used dance to express things he couldn't say out loud, including themes like love between men, pain, and religious struggle. Ailey also struggled with bipolar disorder, making life more challenging. In 1989, Alvin died from AIDS-related complications, but asked his doctor to say he died from blood disease. Paul Winfield, 30 years of hidden love. Paul Winfield was a super talented actor who made Hollywood history as the first black man nominated for an Oscar in a leading role for Sounder, 1972. He also did great work on TV and stage, earning tremendous respect in the acting world. But one thing most people didn't know while he was alive was that he was gay. Paul never came out publicly during his life and wasn't loud about his personal life, but close friends and colleagues knew the truth. He was in a long-term relationship with architect Charles Gillen Jr. for almost 30 years, which was amazing for any relationship, especially one that had to stay private so long. Back then, being openly gay, especially for a black man in Hollywood, could destroy careers. People could lose roles, fans, or be kicked out of the industry entirely. That's probably why Paul and Charles kept things quiet, but their love was real and strong. When Charles passed away in 2002, Paul was heartbroken. 2 years later, Paul died of a heart attack. The two are now buried next to each other at Forest Lawn Memorial Park. Richard Bruce Nugent, the Harlem Renaissance Rebel. Richard Bruce Nugent was one of the boldest artists of the Harlem Renaissance, a writer, painter, poet, and actor who didn't just create amazing work, but lived proudly as a gay black man when almost no one else did. While many in his world stayed silent about sexuality, Richard didn't hide who he was, making him brave during the 1920s and 1930s. Born in 1906, Nugent became part of a powerful group of black writers and artists, including Langston Hughes and Zora Neale Hurston. Unlike many of them, Nugent was openly gay in his personal life and didn't try fitting into society's rules. One of his most important works was the short story Smoke, Lilies, and Jade, published in 1926, one of the first stories by a black author to openly discuss same-sex love. The story followed a young man having a romantic relationship with another man named Beauty. In a 1983 interview, Nugent said powerfully, "I intended it to be a soul-searching poem of another kind of lonesomeness. You see, I am a homosexual." Because he was so open, Nugent didn't get as many opportunities as other artists. Bayard Rustin, the civil rights hero. Bayard Rustin was a civil rights legend who helped organize the famous 1963 March on Washington, where Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave his "I Have a Dream" speech. Rustin planned and organized that entire march, but didn't get much credit because other leaders worried about public reaction to a gay man in the spotlight. Born in 1912, Rustin believed in equality and fairness, fighting for civil rights, peace, socialism, and nonviolence. Even though he was openly gay in his personal life, the times were harsh. Being gay in the 1950s and 60s was seen as shameful or even illegal in many places. Because of this, he was often treated unfairly, even by fellow activists who tried pushing him out or used his sexuality against him. He even got arrested sometimes, not for protests, but just for being gay. Rustin had a loving relationship with Walter Nugent. Since same-sex marriage wasn't legal, Rustin found a unique way to protect their relationship. In 1982, he legally adopted Walter so they could have legal rights as a couple. In 2013, President Barack Obama gave him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. These 13 stories reveal the devastating cost of living authentically in an entertainment industry that demanded conformity above truth. Each talented individual faced an impossible choice: hide their sexuality and maintain careers, or live openly and risk losing everything. For Black LGBTQ+ performers, this burden was doubly crushing. They already faced systemic racism and couldn't afford another reason for rejection. Some, like James Baldwin and Richard Bruce Nugent, chose courage over comfort, using art to express truths others feared to speak. Others, like Luther Vandross and Paul Winfield, found love in private while maintaining public facades. Many, including Alvin Ailey and Howard Rollins, took secrets to the grave, asking even in death that their true selves remain hidden. The AIDS crisis added tragedy, claiming brilliant artists like Willie Ninja and Jermaine Stewart who died too young. Their stories remind us that behind every crafted public image lay real people struggling with authentic desires in a world that punished difference. Today we must remember those who paved the way in silence, whose courage existed in quiet persistence despite overwhelming pressure to hide. If these hidden stories moved you, share this video to honor their memory and subscribe for more untold tales of courage, love, and survival in entertainment history.